Hey, this is Brimster, and I'm finally getting back to the Romina and Vint solo D&D game. Without getting too morbid, the after the last session, I had a discussion with my father about it, and we were talking about how much he was enjoying the game. And since then, he has gotten unwell and passed away. So I have been finding it very hard to return to this. And every time I've sat down to try and do it, I've felt a little bit overwhelmed. And tonight I'm going to give it a try. So let's see how this goes. There's been a couple of things that I've been introduced to since I last recorded as well. It was one of the commenters, I think it's Stephen, but I could be wrong, who said I should have a look at a thing called the Mythic GME, or the Mythic Game Master Emulator. And just after I recorded the last session, I downloaded and had a look at the Mythic GME, and oh my lord, it is stunning. So I will be using the Mythic GME from now on in. I'm going to be slowly but surely converting this campaign to use it. I'll be using that instead of the Oracle system I've used in the past. It's got its own question and answer system. I will be providing a link to that below. I'm still going to be using the Solo Adventures Toolbox and some of the tables in that because they are specifically specifically focused on Dungeons and Dragons. But the Mythic GME is a systemless way of playing a role-playing game, any role-playing game without a GM. Um, and I've really come to love what I've read about the system, but I've not tried it before, so I'm going to sort of try a hybrid. I've also forgotten everything I'd learned in the month I was doing it because it's been a heck of a few weeks, and I really just do not know where I am right now. So if you're expecting the original pace and everything, then it's going to take me a few sessions to get back into that. So I'm also having to find new online tools because I no longer have my D&D Beyond subscription, and even with Wizards of the Coast releasing all of the SRD 5.1, I think it is, to the Creative Commons, I now have the SRD available to me, and I've found alternate tools that I can use. I've got a lot of the books that I had purchased under PDF format now, so I'm trying to use a lot of the tools that I had available in different ways. So there's been a lot of changes to the way I'm recording, the way I'm presenting, the way that I'm going to track things, the tools that I'm using, just everything has changed. So that's going to cause some stuff as well. So what I'm not going to go into how all of these systems work. You'll see them as it goes through. I'm also, as I've said before, looking into a new campaign. So there's all sorts of stuff going on, and I'm trying to figure out how to make it all work. So where we left off, now there's a couple of things that I want to go into. First one was at the end of the last session, and I think I put this in after I stopped recording, was we need to determine what loot is at the hut. And in session 10, we did determine that there would be a treasure hoard in the hills somewhere, and with the boss of the gnolls, it makes sense that it would be here. Now, they did get this magic staff, but if I remember correctly, that was because there was a table that made you roll between 1 and 400, and there was no entry for 400, and I rolled 400. So I thought, this is the time to do something weird, and I rolled a common magic item, and it turned out to be this fishing rod thing. And I like in my games doing very, very special items that evolve with the game. It's something I've done in all of my D&D games for the last 20 years, and I thought this would be a good opportunity to introduce it. This story, I don't know how long it's going to go on, but I thought it would be a fun time to do it, and this is all about fun. Rules, fun first. So what I've done is I've come up with an idea for this, and I may have mentioned this in the past, I'm not sure. But what I've done is I've changed this fishing rod thing into a staff of aquatic symbiosis, and I've tried to come up with what it would be. And I've realized that there is no 5th edition spell called Purify Water. So I think there is a Create Water spell. Actually, I should check that. Water. There, create food and water. I'm going to just call this Create Water. So it can cast Create Water once a day. Not Create Food and Water. No, Create or Destroy Water is the spell. But I'm going to say that it can create water once a day. So once a day, it can create water as if it's the food, Create or Destroy Water spell. It cannot destroy water. I do not want it to do that. It's also going to have a magic effect as it's a attuning to him, that once he's attuned to the staff, that it will, when he casts Shillelagh on it, the duration will be doubled. And it's going to allow him to wild shape into a CR0 creature with a swim speed, but only 1 hit point. Now, I've not checked to see if there are any, but basically the concept of this is normally a druid can only change into something with a swim speed at level 4. He's going to be able to do it, but it will not be a combat form. So he can use one of his wild shapes to change into an aquatic creature while he's got the staff with him, but it will be a non-combat thing, and he will not be able to use it as a hit point reservoir. So even if normally the creature would have 10 hit points, he will come in with 1 hit point. So if he takes a hit, he's going to take all that damage on himself. So this is not supposed to be an exploitative thing. Now, because I'm playing with myself, pardon the pun, because I'm playing solo, that means that one of the biggest problems when you create items like this is there can be the whole concept of the players looking for ways to exploit the ideas you put in. I'm not going to do that, so I don't have to worry about the players coming out and going, well, you could exploit this way. That's not the point. The whole point of this is to me to tell a story and the characters to have cool stuff. So I'm not too worried about the exploit thing. If I find an exploit, then I'll either rewrite or ignore whatever. If there's a purpose I didn't intend, I can decide on the spot whether I want to use it or not. As I go through, we'll figure out what the mythic is, but I think the first thing we need to do is after they've done the thing with Adolia, seems to be the name. I probably missed the pronunciation. I think it's been a month since I record. It feels like 4. There's been a lot happen. They go back into the hut, which I believe was very, very run down and everything, and they're going to look through the Gnoll Pack Lord stuff. Now, I have not gone through all of this to see it, but I believe there is, and I'm going to check in Mythic here, and this is where I'm not as familiar, there are tables for items. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and use the Mythic item table. Not sure. Yeah, it's okay. The Mythic table is different. So I might just use the normal D&D item table that I was using, but there are tables in Mythic which kind of change the way things are described. So they give you these weird elements that you can then use to try and mix things up, and I'm not as familiar with them as I could be. So I am going to go to the Solo Adventures Toolbox, which, as I said, I am going to keep using. And I think it's in part 2 that has an item generator. Yeah, an item table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll on the item table. There was a treasure hoard as well, but and I did, I think, find a treasure hoard generator, but I might just use the ones in the book. So the item generator. So this is what is found in the hut. So let's have a look and see if I can find anything interesting here. Something that'll inspire me. 233. So, okay, frayed rope. So I'm not sure what that's going to give me. Roll again. Map. There's a map that's found. That's interesting. That's very interesting. So a map is found. So what would you do with a map? So I've mixed a couple of things together. This is where I might come in with the mythic system. So the way the mythic system works is you have concepts where you have things that are being tracked, and you have the adventure threads, and then you have characters, and I've tried to pull in the elements in, and then you can use this when certain things happen to determine what would happen. And I could set my expectations, but at this point I'm literally just going to roll and see. This is not using it the way it's intended yet. I'm still learning, but I'm going to roll on the characters list and see if it's to do with any of those. Actually, is it to do with any of the characters? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a roll on the Mythic Fate chart. Is it to do? It is. So I was calling it 50-50, and I'm currently, there is a chaos factor. What I should actually do here is I should say what the current chaos factor is. So I'm going to call this a new scene. So scene is investigate the hut. Or it might be, it starts with investigating the hut. So I'm going to call it after battling the gnoll law boss. And so the chaos factor is 5. So chaos factor is something that will determine sort of how well things go for the characters, and the more out of control things get, the more frantic it will get. And I quite like the concept. Now, it was a definite yes. So it is to do with something that is in play. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll and see what it's got to do with. It's got to do with the Deep Scar Dwarves. So there's a map that has something to do with the Deep Scar Dwarves. Now, this might not be the this may not be relevant. This may not be the way Mythic is intended, but it's all meant to be an inspiration system. Now, I think I'm like 20 minutes into the video and I haven't done much yet, but we'll see how it goes. I should roll on the treasure hoard table. So let's go back and roll on the loot tables, which I think is, it's not that, it's that. So individual loot treasure, I'm going to try and find the treasure hoard. Now, the gnoll boss, what was it? It was I didn't put the encounter title in here. Pack Lord. It was a gnoll Pack Lord. So let's do a bestiary, and I'm really sorry that this session is a little out of it, but it is the way it goes. The gnoll Pack Lord is a challenge rating 2 creature. So that gives me quite a bit more to play with. So I could just tell it, I'm going to do this by dice. This is what I want to do. So I kind of don't like copper and electrum. I think it's, we'll follow it for now. So there's no copper, there is no silver, there is no electrum, there is gold. So there's 1d12 by 100. So there is 700 gold that has been gathered. So so there is 700 GP. There is no platinum. Wow, this is a terrible hoard. Are there gems? There are gems. So 1d4 times 50 GP. So there is 3 times 50 GP gems. And magic items is possible. So there's a chance at a magic item. Now, they've already got one, so that might be a bit weird. There is no magic item. So that is what they get. I'm actually tempted to do... Now, there is a book which I'm not sure I've got here. Oh, well, I should have it here. Which is one that has... It could be this one. Which has magic item tables, which breaks things down. Xanathar's Guide to Everything, which breaks stuff down. I'm going to quickly check for being able to do loot based on, is it this one? No, it's not. There was awarding magic items, 135. This could be it. There was one that was doing loot based on magic item rarity based on different things, because I wouldn't mind them getting a couple of potions and stuff. Here we go. Let's do some minor common items. They're not in a table though, so that's kind of terrible. What I'm going to do is, that is the right thing, but I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I'm just going to put in a couple of potions of healing because I want to. and I haven't done it yet, and normally potions of healing come in fairly normally. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw in, because it's supposed to be a horde, although 700 GP is a lot, a potion of healing. What is a potion of healing worth? Can I find that out on my new reference thing? I'm not sure. Let's have a look, shall we? Potion of healing. Potion of healing. It doesn't actually give a value, 50 GP. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say there's 2 potions of healings, but I'm going to lower the amount of money they find by the value of the potions of healing. Now, what does a map to the... I don't care about the frayed rope. I'm going to remove that. What does the map to the Deep Scar Dwarves mean? And do I want to roll anything else? Let's roll something else on the item table and see what I come up with. Actually, what I could do is I could roll on these tables and see. I could use a descriptor for the map. I could roll on the descriptor tables. And why am I missing a die? I'm not. And see what comes up. 81, 32, 81. Festive playfully. This is not working for me. Festive playfully. Remarkable fearfully. No, I'm not getting this. I'm still sorry, I'm out of practice, and this is my session of trying to get back in the swing of things. So they go in and they get this. So let's add this to the party loot, which was in the characters, I think. So we've got the party loot. So we're adding actually 600 gold pieces, which is a lot. So this becomes 900. Let me just undo that and confirm it. 960 gold pieces. That is a lot of gold they've found. 3 by 50 GP gems. Did they have any before? Nope. So 3 by 50 GP gems, and 2 potions of healing, which I'm going to give straight to Romina. So I'm going to put this on as magic items. So I'm going to put in magic items, and I'm terrible at this. Normal text, this is a heading 4, is it? No, it's a heading 2. Heading 2, and I'm going to put 2 potion of healing, and I'm going to put by 2, not by 21. Okay. So, and again, I'm not too worried about stuff, and they can go though, and that's right, she left her stuff over by, I think it was this tree over here, so they'll go and get all of that as well. So what does a map to the Deep Scar Dwarves mean? I've got an idea, and I'm just going to run with it, because this is... So what if we go back to the world map, which I haven't looked at in a while. So we've got... I don't know what I just did there. So we've got they're in the hills here, but what if Deep Scar, being a dwarvish city, actually has tunnels spreading out, and up here in the hills up here there was another exit? Because this is what, 5, 10, 20... If I do this in miles, then what, 10... This is about 30 mile away. 30 miles may seem like a long way for a tunnel, but these are Dwarven, and there's probably all sorts of things. So what if there is an exit somewhere in the what was it? I've forgotten the name of the hills. It was the Leopard Hills that leads to Deep Scar, and there was like a guard post or something, and the map leads to there, and the gnolls were doing sort of they were sort of trying to figure out what was going on there. How likely is that? I'm actually going to use... So the way that Mythic works is you come up with an idea of expectations, and then you roll to see whether your expectation is true. So I'm going to say that that's what's likely, and then I'm going to see what the dice tell me. Yep, that is basically what's happening. So, and there's a map to somewhere in the hills near where they are. So it's basically a map in the hills with like the location where they are now, and then another path through the hills that leads to sort of a symbol on it and a door, and that's where they're going to, and that's where it's to. And I think Romina and Vint are absolutely going to follow that map because that sounds fun. So the map, but they don't know what it leads to. The map is going is and the gnolls had put this together themselves. Is one the gnolls have put together. Gnolls aren't particularly clever, but they're not dumb. Put together to point to a entrance to a dwarven location they had found, but were still investigating, and was showing the Gnoll Lord where it was. All the R and V know is it's a fairly recent map to a location near here. I think they're going to investigate that. They've got a lot of money. They've got some potions. They'll rest overnight. And because I'm out of the loop and I don't remember the tension of the game or anything, I'm just going to say that, oh no, they rest overnight. There is a chance that the gnolls might attack. They rest overnight, but they're going to move. So they'll collect their stuff. So if I go back to the cottage, that's right, it's Kerwin's cottage and Adolia is his wife. And they'll sort of hide over here. So Romina and Vint will move over to over here and they'll hide sort of behind the trees and everything and set up a camp, having taken most of the stuff. So they rest overnight. And the question is, do the gnolls come? And again, I'm going to use Mythic for this. I think it's probably 50-50 that there will be gnolls, but I'm going to drop that to unlikely because I'm out of the loop and I kind of want the story to move on. And they don't. In fact, that is actually what's called an exceptional no. So the gnolls not only. So is there anything I can do with an exceptional no? So it's similar to what I was doing before. An exceptional no is no with something extra on it. And I should be asking questions along the lines of, are they interrupted by gnolls? And I would have made it, yeah, and I would have made it unlikely, and it's an exceptional zone. So they're not interrupted by gnolls. What can an exceptional no be? So what I could potentially do with that is there's no random event in play. Exceptional results. I don't think an exceptional no needs to do anything on this. The answer is opposite of a yes, or the opposite of a yes intensify. I just think it's the opposite of a yes. I can't intensify a no on this one. So they rest overnight and are not interrupted. Actually, I can think of an except. No, I'm not going to do it. I thought of an exceptional no, which is one a gnoll does come to report and is taken out by Adolia, but I don't want Adolia to come back. She's at rest, so I'm not going to do that. So they're not interrupted by gnolls. So they rest overnight. So that means that the characters all come back to full. So their current stats. So Romina goes back to full health. I'm actually going to do this on the tokens. Gets her hit. She's second level, so she gets 1 hit dice back. The accent surge comes back. I don't remember all of this at all. Wild shape comes back. Spell slots come back. I think all of that is everything. The only thing now is Romina is down 1 hit dice. And that's all good. I'm going to do this on the tokens as well. So I'm going to go into Vint and I'm going to change him back to 20 hit points and I'm going to change Romina back to 26 hit points. So they are back at full hit points. So I can move those tokens or copy those tokens to another map if I want to make one. Boring session so far, I know. Not interrupted. Then they follow the map. Okay, so we're going to now the players were in control, but I'm going to keep the chaos factor. Now the way that Mythic works is if the players are in control, the chaos factor will shift at the end of a scene. But I don't think anything happened here that is worth changing the scene. So I'm going to tell you a scene. So I suppose the big question is, yeah, the scene now is finding the dwarven. So I know it's a dwarven location. So the dwarven entrance. I know it's a dwarven entrance as the GM. They don't know that dwarven entrance in the Leopard Hills. And I'm probably going to redo my journal at some point soon to have better headings for these. And I'm going to keep the chaos factor at 5. Now, normally it would go up or go down based on how in control they were, but nothing really happened. But I do feel this is a scene change. Now, can they follow the map is a good question. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use... and I'm hoping all this is recording, I'm going to use basically an intelligence check or survival is wisdom. I'm basically going to use an intelligence check for each of them. It shouldn't be hard. It was made by gnolls. Yes, both Romina and Vint pass a basic intelligence check. So they follow the map to a location which... to the location which is indicated. To the location which is indicated. Okay, so what do they find? Now, and this is where Mythic will come in. So let's do a new map. So create new page, and this is going to be the Dwarven location in Serpent. So Dwarven outpost, I'm going to call it. Dwarven outpost. I'm going to grab the Romina and the Vint tokens, copy them, and I'm going to paste them into the Dwarven outpost. So that will give me a Romina and a Vint token. Now, are they heading north, south, east, west? I'm again going to use the D8 trick. They were heading north. So they were, I know they'd come from that direction, but they're sort of heading back to the north. I rolled an 8. So they're basically coming from the south. So out of the previous map, so Kerwin's Cottage, they were sort of heading up. I would say they're heading up this way. They came from this way, but they head up, but they take a different path. And what they're going to do, so they head north. They travel north for about it'll be 1 to 2 miles. Let's just say for about 2 miles. So that's taking them past the center of the area. So close to the center of the... and there'll be a Dwarven outpost. Now, they're still in a hilly area. Now, I don't want to do too much in the way of it. Now, this Dwarven outpost, is it basically a hole in the ground, or is it a big monument, or is it like hidden? Now, my expectation is it's going to be hidden. Now, I'm a Chaos Factor 5. I think it's likely it's hidden, so let's see what the dice say. The dice say an exceptional no. It is not hidden at all. So I rolled 99, which means that it is absolutely not hidden. It was likely that it was hidden, but with a 99 roll, it is not hidden at all. So what I'm going to say is, as they're traveling through, and this is why the gnolls had pulled out to it, is let's draw some hills in here. Now I'm going to go back to my map layer and I'm going to draw some hills again. So they're traveling through and you've got some, remember these were sort of hills with sort of different rises to them. And I'm going to say that there were actually different layers of hills here with some different, and they're traveling along a path sort of between some hills, and there are actually different rises in these hills. So this is sort of more of an open gorge with some different paths through, and sort of you've got these different levels of elevation, and this is a higher level of elevation than this because this is still higher up again. and I'm making this up as I go, which is perfectly reasonable by me. Now, and these are, I'm probably overdoing it, so I'm only going to do a few as an indication. So I shouldn't go past the line, but that's okay. This actually goes up again. So this is actually very, very high up here. So there's actually quite an elevation here. Now this does, and this is still higher again. So there's multiple levels to play with. Along here, this is higher. And I'm sure people, when they get to these map bits, are probably going to skip. This is higher by quite a bit because this is also elevated. And what I'm going to say is somewhere here, there is an entrance to basically what was sort of a dwarven town that wasn't part of the city, because it was an exceptional no. It's not hidden at all. So what I might do is I might turn around and say, let's put it here, I think, because I like things being central to the map. So I'm going to pick a grey again, and I'm actually going to pick draw shape. And I'm going to say that in here, there was like a big statue. And then sort of here, I'm actually going to put another statue here. So these are sort of big dwarven statues, 5x5 statues. I'm going to put one up here. And these were sort of markings to the entrance of this area. And then I'm going to put another one here. And where this is a hillside, I'm going to go back to freehand, I think. And I'm going to draw basically in here, there is a crafted wall. So this area here, and I should have, it doesn't matter that it's, I should have, actually what I should have done is I should have drawn this as, I think I can draw this as, nope, I don't seem to be able to. I might keep the freehand then. I'm obviously missing something, but I'm going to put a faint grey in it, and I'm going to do sort of this. So there's actually a wall in here, and in the middle of this wall, I'm going to put, I'm going to use a brown for this just so it's an indication, and I'm going to say basically in the middle of this, there are doors. And these are stone doors that are in the middle of this area. So there is this big known dwarven entrance. And I'm going to say that this area outside of this is actually sort of, there is remnants of it being rubble and everything. And where the hills I've got here, they're actually hard up against the wall. So it's built into the side of the hill. And up the top here, there are sort of crenellations and stuff. So this is an area where there was actually like a proper entrance here for something. And there may be others that are hidden, but this was not a hidden entrance, which is not what I expected. I would have thought that this would have been a hidden entrance, but that's not what's happened. And the gnolls have been, maybe the gnolls have been trying to figure out how to get in. Is that what's going on here? That could be a thing. So let's ask that question. Have the gnolls been trying to get in? I think it's likely they have. So I'm going to again roll Chaos Factor 5. Have they gnolls been trying to get in? 19, yes, they have. So there are gnolls in the area who've been trying to get in. So we might just have another gnoll battle, which for those of you who have been watching this just back to back to back is like, oh God, not another gnoll battle. But for me, it's been a month and I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. So what I might do is, I think I've got some gnolls here. So I'm going to drag a gnoll in. And when I drag, that's not the way to do it. I've got to remember the tricks. That, I think, puts a gnoll in, and then I can go down here and I can say this is a gnoll, and I'm going to give it a nameplate, and I'm actually going to make 2 because I think 2 was the right level of difficulty for there to be some action going on. And again, there's this issue with making it so I could spin the dial because the thing I need to turn with. And where are the gnolls? Like, are the gnolls aware? Like, the characters are facing the map. How? I suppose I'm going to do a. What are the gnolls doing now? Because they've been trying to get in, haven't been able to. Have the gnolls been able to break into the doors or anything? Because this has been an area that they've been investigating. So I think it's maybe 50-50 that the gnolls have been able to get in. They absolutely have. So the gnolls have been able to get in. So these doors are actually open. And maybe these are a couple of gnolls that are sort of standing behind, standing guard, just in case something happens, or something. So I'm going to put the gnolls up here, and these surfaces, they're not very hard. Oh, how hard to climb are they? Again, 50-50. They're not very hard to climb. So I'm going to say that these are not very hard to climb. Actually, I'm going to put the gnolls back on the ground in case they're needed, but I'm going to put them sort of behind these statue things. So these are sort of over here. So they've sort of set up a location nearby where they can watch what's going on. And is it just that their friend? Yeah, interesting sake. Their friends have just gone in, and then Romina and Vint turn up, which is not where they expected anything to come from. Story-wise, make it interesting. Their friends have literally just gone in. Yeah, I'm cool with that. This is supposed to be fun, isn't it? So, Romina and Vint turn up, and they're already not happy with the gnolls. So, this allows me to get back into a combat and have stuff happen. So, gnolls are actually on the lookout. So, and are Romina and Vint being stealthy? Well, do they see... So let's do perception checks to see, do they see the unusual area coming up? Now they're +2 if I remember. And Romina is like, okay, we can see the area up ahead. She rolled very, very well. So they're going to be trying to be stealthy. So I'm going to roll on the stealth for them. So let's put in the journal here. They follow the map. They see the entrance to what looks like a dwarven outpost up ahead, and because they know the gnolls had a map, they decide to be a little careful heading up to it. So they do stealth checks. So stealth for Romina, it'd be Dex, which is +2, and for Vint is the same, which is +2. Neither of them have stealth, so it's just +2. So this is just, they're trying to be a little bit careful. And Vint is terrible at it. Vint is absolutely awful at it. So now it's a gnoll perception check, and I need to find gnoll. Gnoll perception check. Gnolls, and I'm always going to roll because... passive perception is when you're trying to hide something from the GM, or the GM is trying to say, do these creatures see things without rolling dice? I don't have to do that. I'm me. So they're going to make perception checks, which is wisdom. So they don't have perception, so it's literally just rolls. They both roll pretty bad, but one of them is going to see Vint. So what I'm going to say is this one up here is actually going to see Vint as they're approaching. And therefore, the gnolls are like, now they don't know Romina and Vint are hostile, but are the gnolls assuming that everyone is hostile here? So Romina and Vint are going to go into hostile. So as soon as, I suppose the question is, do Romina and Vint now see them? Because the gnoll is like, and does he signal to his buddy? They're not very smart. Does he signal to his buddy? I think it is likely he signals to his buddy. And he does, according to the fate chart. So he signals to his buddy. Now, I'm using the fate chart to make rolls, but it's only if I ask specific questions. Fate chart rolls can generate random encounters. I'm going to have certain things like that, maybe not, but we'll see. I'm still trying to find the feel of it. I have not rolled a random encounter. Random encounter can happen if you roll 2 of the same thing on the dice. He does signal to his buddy. Do Romina or Vint notice this? No, they completely miss it. So the gnoll, this gnoll here is aware of the situation. Does his buddy notice it? Yes. So the gnolls are aware of the situation as Romina and Vint are walking up, and Romina and Vint are not. So I'm going to call it about here when the gnolls get to decide what they do. Now, the gnolls aren't sure if Romina and Vint are hostile, but as a general rule, now, do the gnolls figure that Romina and Vint are hostile? I think it is very likely. So I've got likely, very likely, nearly certain, or certain. I think it is very likely that they think Romina and Vint are hostile, but I'm going to let the dice and see what happens. So they that is a yes. It's not an exceptional yes. It almost was. So they think that it's hostile. So they are going to prepare. They are going to attack. So the gnolls are going to get a surprise round. I am going to remove all turns. I'm going to clear the turn tracker. I am then going to roll initiative, and if I remember correctly, both Romina and Vint are +2 on initiative. They are, so I'm going to add them to initiative. So, holy cow. So I add a turn for Romina, and she's on 22. I add a turn for Vint, and he's on 11. And then I add a turn for the gnolls, and they are going to be on 20. Holy cow. So that's going to be the turn order. So Romina is unaware of there being an issue. So she's still like casually walking up. So she's going to spend her turn going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. She's basically walking up, and why? There has to be a way of being able to do this. And she's basically paying attention to the doors and seeing, hang on, these doors are open and everything. And Vint is still back here because turn order. And that's her turn. She's doesn't have her weapons in her hand or anything. Now, actually, does she draw her weapons because she's approaching an unknown situation and she's like can see that there's these open doors and everything? I don't think she's. I think she's like on the awares, but she hasn't drawn her weapons. There's no sign to her that there's a problem. So if she does need to draw her weapons and anything, that's going to be a minor action. She won't get a double action that turn. Next is the gnolls, and they're sort of on watch and everything, and they've got their bows ready, I think. So they're literally going to be able to shoot. And this one saw Vint, so he's going to be able to shoot Vint. Now, the distance on this is 90 feet, which I think is okay for a longbow. I'm going to use the equipment table in the book. And I'm aware this is exactly the sort of fight you've seen a lot of recently, but I as I said, I do apologize a bit for that, but I'm trying to get back in the swing of this and enjoy a session of this now that, yeah, I just am. So, longbow, yeah, well within range. So he is going to take a shot at Vint, who's not undercover or anything. This was an open area. So he's going to take a shot at Vint, and that is not a message I need to respond to. So there are messages I'm getting at the moment that I do. So he's going to take a shot at Vint. So a longbow attack +3 to hit. The damage dice on a longbow is a D8. So that is the attack. So he hits armor class 14, which I think is enough to hit Vint. Vint is armor class 13. So he hits Vint for minimum damage. It's only 2 points of damage. So Vint, why is this not selecting? I'm on objects and tokens. What's gone on? Oh, I'm in the wrong mode. He hits Vint for 2 points of damage, and Vint goes down to 18 hit points. Okay, so I know the tradition is yellow for hit points. I've always just used that one on the left to cope. I didn't put the hit points in for the gnolls, though. I should have done that. Gnolls, I'm using the average. So let's give them 22 health. Okay, so, and this one doesn't have a good line to Vint, but Romina has walked up, so he's going to shoot at Romina with the same thing. And he's going to miss Romina. Romina is absolutely missed. So that's all good. And now, and that's the gnolls. And now Vint is like, okay. Now he's got a couple of options here. He is probably going to use his produce flame, but I do want to see if there's anything else that might work for him. Animal friendship, cure wounds, detect magic, entangle, fairy fire. Entangle might be useful, but they've got bows. Um, so he's probably going to use produce flame. So produce flame, what's the range on that? 30 feet. So that's not going to work. But he could maybe move and produce flame. So he's going to move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Stay near Romina. And then he can see this one and he can produce flame on this one. So he's going to do that. So he's going to use a... I think I can actually do a... like a thing like this and say... No, for some reason it doesn't work. It's supposed to be something like that that's supposed to do a beam of fire, and I don't know why it just does not work. Oh well, doesn't matter. I'll look into that another time. But there's supposed to be a way of, as you can see up here, of doing a missile of fire, and if I do that, it's supposed to do a missile of fire, but for some reason it's not. Oh well. Anyway, so back to this. Yeah, it's weird that that doesn't work. Anyway, so he's going to do a produce flame. So he's going to cast produce flame and hurl it at the gnoll, which means he has to attack. He makes a ranged attack, and his ranged attack bonus is +5. So he makes an attack at +5. So he hits armor class 12, which I am pretty certain is going to miss a gnoll. That is absolutely going to miss a gnoll. So he like summons the flame in his hand and he hurls it at the gnoll and absolutely misses. And I think he can also, I can't remember if he can also cast a cantrip. I'm going to let him, and he's then going to shillelagh his staff. And now all the beams come off. I don't know. I do not know. Whatever. Roll20 is lagging or something. So that's Vint, and now we go back to Romina. Now, Romina can 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She can reach this gnoll, but she can't reach this one. Or she could pull out a longbow and shoot at that one. I think she's going to go for the one she can reach and let Vint go for the other one, because he'll be able to move up and produce flame. So she's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and she's going to stop there, and then she's going to attack this gnoll. Now, she's drawing her weapons as she goes. Now, I've kind of let her do that in the past, so I'm going to let her do that again. If something had approached her... yeah, what the hell? She can do it. These are heroes. I like my heroes. My heroes are awesome. So she's still only using scimitars, so she only is doing a d6 damage. She will upgrade at some point. Her first attack is going to hit, and I believe her damage, if I jump to Romina, is d6 +3. So she is doing 5 points of damage to the gnoll. My characters are supposed to be very powerful. And then her offhand attack, which she is pretty good at, but not good enough. She misses with that. So that's Romina done. The gnolls then get an attack. The gnoll lets go of his bow, pulls out his spear, and he tries to shove it into Romina. His spear does, I think it's d6, yes. So he's going to try and shove it into Romina. He is using it two-handed. So he is actually, because they can use shields, but I don't think he is, because he was using a bow. So he's going to try and use it two-handed. He hits Romina. Oh my god. Romina's in trouble. Romina takes 11 points of damage and goes down a lot. That's, So, ow. So he hits Romina a lot. The other gnoll continues to shoot. Now, he was shooting at Vint, and I think he will keep doing so, but he misses. So that's not a problem. So we now go to Vint. Now, Vint is going to... he could heal Romina on the way through. So he's going to move to here. He's going to use one of his spells to cast a heal on Romina. So he's going to drop that to 1. He's then going to... I'm going to look up... I've forgotten how to track all my spells. So I'm going to look up Cure wounds, cure wounds, D8 plus his spellcasting ability modifier, which is 3. So D8 plus 3 hit points go back to Romina. That is 9. Romina gets 9 hit points back, so she goes back to 24. And then he's moved 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he moves to there. So that's the state at the end of Vint's turn. Because he doesn't want this guy just pot-shotting at them. And this gnoll is very, very happy up there. Now, from there, Vint can kind of see in the doors. Does he notice anything? No. Because I've got an idea of what I want to be in there. I haven't rolled for anything, but I think I'm going to run with my idea. Okay. That was Vint. Sorry, that was... Ooh. Did I get the order wrong? No, that was Vint, and we now go to Romina. Romina is going to make 2 attacks with her Romina dice on the gnoll. The first one is going to be 12, which misses. The second one is even worse. Romina misses. That is not good for Romina. The gnoll is now going to get to attack Romina, and he misses, so that's okay. And then the other gnoll is going to take a pot shot at Vint, and he is going to miss. Sometimes in 6 seconds, all it is stuff flying around and everyone dodging. You know, those big action scenes where like everyone is like shooting arrows and swinging swords and none of the heroes seem to take any damage. This is one of those moments. Vint is now going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's going to stop there and he's going to use Produce Flame again. He hits with Produce Flame. So let's look up Produce Flame. Produce. He absolutely hits with Produce Flame, and the creature takes 1d8 fire damage, which is 8. So this guy takes 8 fire damage. So he basically... Oh, it's off the top of the map. He takes 8 fire damage and goes down to 14. So So, yes, he's not a happy gnoll. Yeah, and the map could have gone further, but I didn't bother. And there's no real point. So... This is what has happened now. So that was the end of Vint's turn. We now go back to Romina. So Romina is going to try and take out a gnoll. Critical. Absolute crit. So her bonus damage is 3. She has done 10 points of damage to a gnoll with a single attack. So she manages to sort of find the chink in its armor or whatever. So as it's raising its spear to attack, she gets in and sticks one of her swords, her main hand sword, into his armpit. And he's very unhappy with that one. And while he's sort of struggling to disimpale himself with that one, she comes in with her other sword and misses. Just misses. But that was not a good turn for the gnoll. But the gnoll is now going to try and use the spear and stick it into our little heroine and hit for 5 points of damage, 6 points of damage. Back to the gnoll page. 6 points of damage. So Romina goes back down to 18. That was a solid hit. Ew. And then the other gnoll, he's going to drop his spear, drop the bow and basically, and pull out his spear. And he's also going to, no, he's actually going to turn around and sees that his friend's been hit hard. So these guys are a bit tough. So he's actually going to take the time to strap on his shield as he's moving up. And he's going to move up and he's going to do this one-handed. Oh, hang on. He's not using a shield. He would have been hit. Romina would have done damage. I'm going to re-roll it. She would have done 6 points of damage, knocking him to 1 hit point. He's not down yet. Forgot that. It was the only time she just missed, so I'm going to take that. So this one is put on his shield and everything, and he's moving up to Vint, and he's going to try and hit Vint with his spear. And he hits, but he only hits for 3 points of damage. So Vint takes 3 points of damage. Okay. Now... we are in a situation where it's Vint's turn. Now, Vint is not going to worry with spell because he's in melee range and that could be a problem. So what he's going to do is he's going to use the shillelagh, which is even better for him, and he's going to try and hit the guy. Now, I'm going to look up what the shillelagh is again. So if I go to standard actions for Vint, the shillelagh is +5 with a D8 +3. So... he misses. He absolutely misses. So, yeah, the thing would have made no difference. And Vint is going to move up to here so he can turn around and see what's happening with Romina, just in case. And then we go to Romina, who's going to try and take this gnoll down. So she does her attack, hits, and will absolutely kill this gnoll. So this gnoll goes to dead. And then Romina's going to use her move to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. She can move in line with the gnoll and basically be ready to take him down. That's her turn. The gnoll is now still spearing at Vint. Hits Vint, and this time for better damage, hits him for 5. So Vint is taking a little bit of damage here. It's like he's at half. It's like, oh, I don't like this. And now Vint gets his turn. So Shillelagh time. Remember, he's got plus. Yeah, he's not used to the balance on this new staff. It's a better staff, and he will get it. And he has spent the time attuning to it, and he can feel the raw power in the staff. But it's not actually helping him yet. He'll get there. It's not actually any worse. I'm just rolling badly. And that is him. Now it's Romina, who can move up, and then she can use her action and bonus action to make her attacks. So, and I'm sure if a real D&D player was watching this, they would turn around and say, there's a problem with the way you're running this. I'm having fun. If these aren't rules as written, they are rules as I'm doing them to have fun and make a campaign with 2 characters work. I'm comfortable with that. So, she absolutely hits. The first hit is for 5 points of damage, so the gnoll goes down to 9, and then she gets a second attack, which she will miss with because this guy has his shield available. So that's fine. I'm going to... no, he's there. It's fine. And then it becomes the gnoll's turn. Now, he's not sure who the bigger threat is. Is he going to change targets? And this is the question I'm going to ask from now on in. I'm not going to roll for who he hits. I'm going to use the mythic system to say, does he change targets? And I think it's unlikely that he's going to change... I actually think it's very unlikely he's going to change targets. So let's roll. He does not change targets. In fact, I rolled so much no that he's going to change targets that I'm not going to ask again. He is literally so hyper-focused on Vint that he is literally just going to stay focused on Vint for the rest of the fight, if I remember that. So he is just going to continue to attack Vint. He's so focused. He rolls so badly. Yeah, terrible roll. Rolled a 2 on a d20. That is not good. So the gnoll does terribly. Vint, however, now has his turn to rebut, and does so with such gusto. I think Vint gets a bonus with Shillelagh, doesn't he? So Vint's Shillelagh, yeah, D8 plus 3. He's going to hit him for 11 points of damage and kills the gnoll. So the gnoll was so hyper-focused. He was like, I must attack you. And he was like so focused on the aggression that his attack went wild, and he left an opening that Vint could exploit to the maximum effect. And this gnoll is knocked down. So the gnolls are knocked completely out of the fight. And our 2 heroes are like, that was a little harder than we expected. It was like, well, gnolls have been pretty tough. It was like, yeah, I suppose. It's like, Vint is like, I'm trying to remember how they are. Romina is a little bit flighty, but she's serious. It's like, they were quite tough. It's like, that one hit me very hard. It's like, you got him back. I did. It's like, I need to take a short break. Do you think we can before we investigate? Those doors are open, but I think we're okay. They were on the watch for something. Let's move a little bit away. Let's move back the way we came and rest a bit down the road for 10 minutes. And that way they can spend some hit dice. And I can't remember if a short rest... I can't remember how long a short rest is supposed to be, in fact. Is it half an hour or 10 minutes? This is weird. I honestly do not remember. It might need to be half an hour. This is how out of it I am. Short rest. See resting. Great. Thanks, index. Because then it'll say resting, short rest. Because it just wants to send you over to this page of such fine... No, it doesn't. Okay, so 186. Short rest. At least 1 hour long. Okay. But they're going to do that anyway. So what will happen is they will take the short rest. Now, I think it is unlikely that they're going to be interrupted, but we'll see what happens. Like, I think it's actually very unlikely. So let's do the very unlikely. They are interrupted. They are interrupted even with a very unlikely. So, before the short rest comes off, and I'm going to turn around and say what they've done is they've basically gone down and they've parked themselves sort of down here. I'm going to say that's far enough. They probably would have gone further, but I don't want to draw a new map. And they're sort of watchful of everything, but they can see what's going on. And the interruption that happens, I'm going to recycle these gnolls. So I'm going to reset this guy to full health, and I'm going to take the X off him. I'm just going to remove this guy from the map completely, put it over there in case I want another one. And what's going to happen, because I've got an idea for what I want happening down here, is the interruption they get is a gnoll comes running out of here, basically screaming. Now, he's going to be quite wounded. How wounded is he? How wounded is he? Very, like, very wounded. He is on 3 hit points. So he is so very, very wounded. Basically, I said, how wounded is he? And I rolled 91%. So he's on 3 hit points. It's probably less than that, but 3 is fine. So he's on 3 hit points and he runs out. And he runs into the, and he is howling, and it is very, very clear something is wrong. And basically this interrupts their rest. So because they jump up and get their weapons ready and everything, but the gnoll is literally just running out, and he runs out looking for his friends. Was not expecting this. I love this element of it, because I was expecting them to just be able to rest. So is there more than one of them? I think it's unlikely, but I'm going to roll. Good God, there is. There absolutely is. So another gnoll runs out as well. Oh, this could be really cool, because I had an idea for what was going to happen. How wounded is this guy? This guy is less than half. So I'm going to put him on 10 hit points. And he's back as well. And behind him runs another gnoll. So these guys are running out. This guy runs out first, and this guy runs out sort of a few seconds, sort of maybe 5 or 10 seconds later. Now, they run out. They are basically howling and everything. It is clear that they're wounded. They are not paying much attention. They just wanted out. Now, what do our heroes notice? Because I've got an idea for what I want to put in there, and I'm just running with it for now. I may add more later when I roll, but I'm just running with it for now. So, do our friends notice the stuff that I've got in my head? So let me just journal this. They head up to it. When they arrive, they encounter gnoll guards, and who are watching the entrance. So encounter gnolls by 2. They dispatch them and attempt to take a short rest. I'm at the point where I'm not too worried at this point about the individual loot on these gnolls. I think they've got some stuff right now. Oops. This should have been a normal carriage return, so I can do that. This possibly should have been that. I'm going to do that. I don't have my headings correct yet. I will do it better and think about it. They attempt to take a short rest. They are interrupted by 2 gnolls running out of the open doors of the Dwarven outpost. I'm calling it. Okay, so this is what happens. Because these gnolls were, they would have had supplies and stuff. No, they weren't worried about that. They just wanted to go and rest before anything happened. So how far through the time did it happen? I'm just going to roll a d20, and it happened just as they were starting to rest. So I rolled a 2 on a d20. They were interrupted About 5 minutes later, by two gnolls running out of the open doors of the Dwarven outpost. So they're on watch. They're on alert. They've just started sort of figuring out what they're going to do, settling down, talking about what happened when these gnolls run out howling. So I'm going to roll perception checks for our heroes. They both roll 15, so they do notice stuff. So what they notice, R and V both notice that the gnolls are covered in a sticky, or in what looks like white residue from a distance, and are bleeding from open wounds. Now, I do need to look something else up. I need to go back to the gnoll, and then I need to find that. I need to add that to the list. And this doesn't, hang on, sorry. Just having to read a rule because it doesn't make sense. Okay, fine. Okay, I think I get that. Okay, so they run out, and yeah, they've got some sticky white residue sticking to them, and they run out as if sort of looking for their friends, and they see the bodies of their friends on the ground, and they realize that this is something else that's happened, and so I'm not sure what they're going to do here. So this is where I'm going to use the expectation system. They run out. They've just been through what they consider to be hell, and they've seen some of their buddies die, and they run out, and their buddies out here are dead too. Do they panic? Do they look around? So they definitely look around. Do they see Romina and Vint? I think the answer is likely they weren't hiding. Yeah, one of them does, and he like looks and it was like sees them and howls at them, and Ravina and Vint are there with like weapons ready, sort of preparing to deal with it. Um, are they prepared to surrender? I think at this point it is unlikely, but I've been rolling badly anyway. No, out of blind fear. So which one sees them? I probably should have rolled. I didn't declare a dice. I'm literally just going to roll. So it's the one that's most wounded that sees them. And he sees them, and he doesn't have his bow on him. All he's got is his spear, and he just turns and he charges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And he charges all the way up, but he doesn't get an attack because they're too far away. And this causes the other gnoll to go, huh? And now I'm going to redo initiative. So I'm going to re-roll initiative for all of them. So I'm going to set them all to 0 so that I know that they don't have initiatives on the table yet. Wow, what's that done? Fine. I'm now going to roll for Romina and Vint. So Vint is on 19. Romina is on 12. And the gnoll is on 21. So the gnolls are actually like, because they've literally just come from what they consider to be a combat situation. They are literally hyper aware and everything. They don't have their bows. So this gnoll is going to attack, and he's going to attack Vint was right there. Vint was closest. He's just going to attack Vint two-handed with his spear. His blood is up. He's like just running on pure fear. So he's going to attack Vint. He's going to hit Vint, and he's going to hit Vint not hard, unfortunately. He's going to just hit Vint for 3 minimum damage. He's just so frenetically excited. And the other gnoll is going to charge as well, like realizing what his buddy's done. He doesn't think his buddy's with it, but he can't leave him. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He doesn't have a ranged weapon. He could throw his spear, but then he wouldn't have a weapon. So he's just going to charge up and be next to his buddy. Now we go to Vint. Now Vint, it's been a couple of minutes, so Vint's shillelagh is down, but he will cast his shillelagh and then try and hit the gnoll. He can do that, and he's going to hit the one that hit him. So he misses. What's going on? He stands up, he shillelaghs, and he tries to hit, and he's just out of it. Romina draws her weapon. She's only going to get a single attack because it's like, what is going on? And now that they're close, you can see that they're just covered with these white webs. Like, it is there's the white residue and stuff on them. Their bodies are just covered with this webbing and everything. Is there? I'm going to check. Is there? No, there's not. So it's okay. I'm just going to leave it there. I'm not going to say a word. So she's only going to get a single attack on the gnoll that's next to her. And she basically fumbles. She's standing up, pulling her weapons out. She sees the sticky webs. Everything is like, what's going on? And they're just completely out of it. So that's Vint and Romina. The gnolls are just frenetically attacking. It's like, ah! And they attack. And he is no. That could hit Vint, I think. Like, I really do. That's going to hit Vint, and that's going to hit Vint hard. Like, that's going to drop Vint. That's going to drop Vint to 0. Vint goes down. So Vint is at 0. So Vint is out of the fight. So for now, I'm going to put an X on him. So Vint is down, and Romina is like, holy shit. The other one is going to attack Romina, and that's going to miss Romina. And now we go to Vint, who is down. Now, Vint has to make what's called a death save because he's on 0 hit points. Now, the way a death save rolls is just a D10. If he rolls 1 to 10, then he is progressing towards dying. If he rolls 1 to 9, he's progressing toward dire. 10 or higher, he rolls. He doesn't get any worse. I roll an 8. So for death saves on Vint, so I go up to here and I'm going to add in here temporarily death saves. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in here. No, I'm not. I'm going to do it here. So death saves, because I think failures. So the first one is a fail. So he has failed 1 death save. So he is getting worse. We then go to Romina. Romina now really wants to take these guys down. But all she can really do is attack. So she's going to attack the first one. With her +3, they don't have their armor. And I'm pretty certain she's at +3 to hit. So, no, she's at +5 to hit. So she absolutely hits. I've been getting a bit wrong. It doesn't matter. It's all good. Mistakes happen. She does 7 points of damage to this guy, knocking him down to 3, and she gets a follow-up attack. So with her offhanded weapon, with +5, she gets exactly the right amount because she's not using a shield, and she drops this guy down. So this guy is down, but that's her turn. This other gnoll now is going to step up. So I'm going to move this gnoll out of the way so this one can step up and do his spear attack on Romina. And he is absolutely frenetic. He hit. I think that's going to hit Romina. Romina hits exactly. And he does 6 points of damage to Romina. So they are absolutely going to need to rest. She goes down to 12. And that is bad. And now Vint has to make another death save. So let's go up to Vint. Let's roll his death save using the Vint die. Vint passes. So he passes his death save. So it's a pass. And I can't remember if it's 3 passes and you stabilize, 3 fails and you die, but we're not there yet. And then Romina is going to... Romina is going to attack the gnoll. There's really nothing else for her to do at this point. She's going to hit the gnoll, and she is going to do enough damage to kill it because it was so badly wounded already. Um, they probably no, they probably should have been fighting worse than that, but I'm going to say their adrenaline was up. Now, there's a couple of things Romina could try and do. She could try and stabilize her friend. Now, there is an action, I think, called first aid or healing or something. I have not had to do this. I haven't been in a party without a healer for a very long time. I think the last party I was in had 4 people with magical healing out of the 5 of us. So, that happens. Healing 197. So we would literally just get to this point and someone would throw some magical healing around. So stabilizing a creature is to heal it. If healing is unavailable, can at least be stabilized. You can use your action to administer first aid, DC Wisdom Medicine check. So she's going to now. Romina has done that, but so Vint has to do another. So we now go. That was Romina. We now go to Vint, who has to make another death save. So Vint is going to attempt a death save, which he passes. So, whoops, this is the wrong thing. Bleeding from open wounds. They charge R and V, and Vint is dropped in combat. So he passes the... Now, that was actually the page I also wanted to look at for death saves. A successive failure has no effect by itself. Third success, you become stable. On your third failure, you die. However, if you're stabilized, then you don't have to make death saving throws and you stay at 0. So what she can do is she can attempt to stabilize Vint using a wisdom. She doesn't have any healing, so she's going to try and make a wisdom, DC 10 wisdom, to try and stabilize her friend. And she doesn't. It's like, I don't know what to do. So he's going to make another roll, which he fails. So she's now going to turn around and say, I know that was a potion of healing. I think all adventurers have seen it. So she's going to give him a potion of healing. I didn't know this was going to happen when I gave it to them. Of healing. Potion of healing gives 2d4 plus 2 hit points back to her friend. So she drops the number of potions of healing she has to 1, and he gets back 2d4 plus 2 hit points, which is 8 hit points. So Vint goes back to 8 hit points and is no longer... Now, there may be rules about you can't give potions to someone who is dying. They're unconscious. They can't swallow it. I don't care. Like, it's a healing mechanism that someone can use to bring a friend back. It's a magical elixir. A wizard did it. So Vint is back on 8 hit points. Oh, yeah, we need to get out of here. Like, let's go back somewhere like where we're way away from this, and then we can come back tomorrow. So Vint is going to turn around and say, before that, and he's going to throw a healing spell on himself. D8 plus 3 hit points back for him, which is 11. So he's almost back at full. He's like, sure. But that's all of his healing used. We could do this with a short rest. She's looking at him going, no. How about no? He said, well, I'm going to get... they could have used healing surges and stuff, but they didn't. An inspiration. I'm out of practice. She should have used her action surge earlier on. Like, they're actually in pretty good shape, apart from the fact that they didn't use anything. So they're going to go away and rest. They're going to move further away into an area, and I am going to say, before they go into the area where all of those terrible webs were and put all of that stuff into the gnolls, and they are going to go in there. They absolutely are. They're going to go away and rest. And are they going to be interrupted? Again, I think it's very unlikely, but we'll see what happens. They are not going to be interrupted. So they will get to rest overnight. Romina will get her back, her thing back. He will get his spell slots back. He goes back up to 20. She goes back up to 26. And there could have been, whoops, wrong one. 20. She goes back up to 26. And there could have been, you can do some dodgy rule stuff along the lines of, well, I take a short rest, get a spell slot back, then I heal her. And then we take the long rest and I get things back and everything for using abilities that come back on long rests and everything. I knew they weren't going to get interrupted. It's fine. And on the next session, they're going to explore what is in there that caused all that webbing. Is it just like it was a webbed up area in there, or what scared the heck out of all of those gnolls that caused them to run out in fear? For the next time, we can explore that. And at the end of the session, Vint is dropped in combat. Romina uses one of the healing potions to bring him back, and then they step away and take a long rest, which is not interrupted. I know I'm not at my full. This has been a weird one because this is the first session that my father will never see. And he's the one who got me into Dungeons and Dragons back in the late 70s. It's been a very, very rough week. Thank you everyone who is watching. I hope more people do at some point in the future. And I know this was just a couple of gnoll fights, which we've seen a lot of. D&D can be like that. You can sort of encounter a bunch of stuff. I am going to update the mythic tables and basically say that the Leopard Hill gnolls are now gone. Like, they are just completely dealt with. There are no Leopard Hill gnolls left. This is the end of the Leopard Hill gnolls, I think. And we'll see how that goes. But that's what happened in this session. I hope you enjoyed it. And I will be back for more adventures with Romina and Vint, hopefully in the near future. Thank you everyone for watching, and as always, good luck with your adventures.